Marriage is sacred. Because marriage is sacred before God, marriage is also binding. Why does God treat marriage with such sacredness? Because marriage gives the picture of the relationship between Christ and the church. So it's a sacred union. A union in which God himself is the author. He's the originator. He's the author. He's the owner of marriage. So the marital institution is not cultural per se. The marital institution is not the figment or the product of man's imagination. God is the one that instituted marriage. Is there culture in marriage? Does culture affect marriage? Yes. But the origination of marriage is not cultural. So when somebody, in trying to answer the question of divorce, begins to tell you things like marriage is cultural, that there's nothing like a Christian marriage, but there are Christians in marriage, and there's nothing like a godly marriage, that is just Christians that are in marriage, that it is marriage is driven by culture. What the person is trying to do is trying to change the context in which marriage originated, so that he can define divorce according to his own terms. Because once you remove marriage from the hand of God, then marriage can become whatever you want it to become in your mind. So most of the people that argue about marriage and argue about the commandments of marriage, the first thing they want to do is remove the sacredness surrounding marriage. Because once they can make it unholy, make it secular, or make it cultural, then they can bring definitions to it that can suit human lust. So as believers, you must first of all agree. Everything I'm going to say to you tonight, the first place of agreement is that you must come to the point where you agree that God is the author of marriage. That for us to begin to discuss marriage, we must know that marriage is not that two human beings, is not something that scientists discovered. Marriage is not something that a generation discovered. Marriage existed from the beginning, and the author of marriage is God. The reason I'm emphasizing this is, if you do not agree with that, then you will take away from God the right to dictate how marriage should be run. And that is what the world is trying to do. They don't want the voice of God to be the guiding light as relates to marriage, or to be the measuring stick as relates to marriage. So they must try to remove the authorship and the sacredness of marriage from the hand of God. But us as believers, we must conclude in our hearts that if God authored marriage, then God has a right to tell us how he wants marriage operated. He has that absolute right to tell us how he wants it operated. And that is what Jesus was doing in this portion of the scripture. He said, in the beginning, God made them male and female. Meaning that in the eyes of God, it is one man, one wife. One man, one wife. God is expecting that the minute you are joined to that man, or you are joined to that woman, is going to be like that for life. It is binding. And for this reason, because God made it one man, one wife, for this reason, a man leaves his father's house and he cleaves to his wife, and they two become one. This is how God authored marriage. This is how he authored marriage. So marriage is sacred and marriage is binding. This is why you must be very careful, those of you that are amongst us that are not yet married. You must be very careful who you choose to do marriage with. It's very important, because there is no escape route from inside. The only opportunity that is provided if you want to walk away from your marriage is that the matter of infidelity would have been introduced, because marriage is a covenant. Marriage is a covenant. So things like infidelity, things like adultery break the covenant. The covenant is now destroyed because of that person's infidelity.